Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 1 and welcome to Boots on the Ground. If you have anything you can add, send it to Southern Prepper 1, Southern Prepper 1, the number 1 at yahoo.com. Let's get right into it. Lot to cover. This person wrote, it only got down to -3 here, and while we had wind, it was not that bad. It was 20 below in the big storm of 1993. In December of 1980, it was a -20 for a week in Connecticut. And huge water lines froze on Christmas. Of course, we had the blizzard of February 1966 and the blizzard of 1888, where the elevated train were blocked 20 feet by the huge snow drifts. In 1945, the trains could not even run in Buffalo for months. Corning, New York had no coal, and they burned furniture because the trains could not get through. One friend, Dick, came home in June on leave and said there were still 3 feet of snow in the sugar bush. Thus, this short little cold snap we just faced is not the worst in a century. Not at all. But the people came back in the Depression were tough. I had a family member who lived in a cold water flat without heat unless they got some work and they could buy coal for the kitchen stove. They fought in frigid weather and scorching heat. One aunt still had no electricity in the 50s. Heated and cooked with coal. Had a hand pump in the kitchen. Used kerosene lamps for lights. I still remember my mom putting the 5 or 10 cent sign in the window for the Iceman. My mother and father were up at 2 a.m. washing diapers for 3 kids in a big double sink in the basement. In the 3-foot wet snowstorm of March 1958, the wires went down and my mother cooked on a sterno stove for 2 weeks and the house got down near freezing. No problems. It's not this storm was worse, but there are people. Look at phones. Phones right now are a luxury. Back then, long distance calls were difficult and expensive. But nowadays, if a person doesn't have their cell phone, it's almost suicidal for them. Having the power fail and stores close is groundbreaking down the door, and then they looped. So, studies say that in the event of a long-term power grid, 90% of the people who will die in 3 months. Not because things would be too tough, but because people are too soft. So that really summed it up, and I'm not making light of all the people that perished, but we do have it good in the United States. We are soft, extremely soft. This person said this is the first time seeing no eggs at our Walmart in Olympia, Washington. Also shortage on milk and juice. This person says, where I live in Lancaster County, Nebraska, we have a homestead exemption where homeowners over 65 don't have to pay property taxes. I've saved a lot in the last 3 years, and my mom had it for 30 years. It's a good deal. So, check your state. See if you qualify for any homestead exemption. See if you qualify as if you're an injured vet to lower your property taxes. I'm in West Virginia. My sister-in-law and 5-year-old nephew has been incredibly sick for the past week with COVID. They had to go to the emergency room, so they drove across the state line into Ohio to the ER. The place was packed. They were still able to get in relatively quick. They ran some tests, basically said there's nothing more they can do that they weren't already doing, and unless it's get worse, they should go home and stay there and keep doing what they're doing. The doctor also said that 90% of the people in the emergency room right now are with COVID or RSV. Most of them are children and infants. The new strain of COVID seemed to be attacking kids worse than the first bout did. It's just trying to find out honestly what is this reason. And it could be because people, for the last few years, stayed away from other people, and their immune systems are so much weaker because they weren't around a lot of other illnesses. So that could be it. I used to teach English to kids in China via the internet. I am still friends with some of their parents, and I talk with them on WeChat. COVID is spreading like wildfire over there in China. With the lifting of the zero policy, the Chinese are quickly getting sick. Within 1 week, friends in one province and some in Shanghai both messaged me to tell me their entire family have had COVID, including the extended family. Fever, cough, and chills has been their major symptoms. However, one friend told me last night that the following, which is extremely concerning. So this is what they told him. People can't get enough medicine. The government didn't consider about the medicine problem, but it looks like they were rushed to stop the policy of that was going on for the last 3 years about zero COVID. So people cannot get ibuprofen and other things that they need because they're all sold out. They also said that the factories that make these drugs reduce their production. Now there's a complete lack of it. People are sharing their pills, but not sharing bottles, but individual pills. Let me add, I went to China in 2018. I went into a Chinese pharmacy. You could buy antibiotics such as amoxicillin over the counter. So personally, I think this is very strange. People need to stock up on over-the-counter medicine. And we've been preaching it here. YouTubers have been telling people because there's huge shortages. Get what you need to be able to take care of your family. It's not hard. You got to have it on hand. Don't put your trust in that you can just go anytime you want to the store and get what you need. Get it now. If you've been following the stock markets, the global stocks are terrible this year. $18 trillion lost. The Dow in the United States is only down 8.8% for this year. The S&P was down almost 20%. And the tech-heavy NASDAQ tumbled 33.1%. So we're definitely feeling the effects of a slower economy. And what will 2023 bring? We will find out soon enough. Maryland, they're talking about cold meds and children's Tylenol. You can't find it. There's no vinyl surgical gloves either. Produce is terrible. So they just went on and on about things that are not available. My daughter's boyfriend bought a dozen eggs for $10 in the Baltimore area. Another person says, my wife told me this morning about the nail place she would visit every now and then. It was a Filipino couple at our church, has been running it. They have their own nail salon, and they were just notified. This is in western New Jersey. They just are going to be closing. Actually, today will be their last day. The owner said the landlord has raised the rent for the coming 2023 year, and they will no longer be able to afford to pay the increase and stay in business. They mentioned that they will take the winter off and try maybe to find an alternative location in the springtime. And they just go on to say a lot of businesses are feeling this in a small businesses, just increased inflation. They also said that we just received an update from our savings and loan company that has our home equity line of credit, and our interest rate went up another 0.75% to 7%. It was around 3% last year. So from 3% to 7%, if you're in debt, try to get out of debt as quickly as possible. This is a small town in western Wisconsin. I took my mother shopping at Walmart, and she commented that there was more employees moving food from the back to the front of the shelves than there were shoppers. I explained this is called fronting and why they're doing it. She also seen an empty bin for iceberg lettuce. It had a price sign of about $4 a head. This is from Canyon Lake, Texas. Just to watch your latest podcast, I thought I'd send a little good news. A local small grocery chain here in Canyon Lake is fully stocked. They had egg section was fully stocked with dozen brown eggs at $2.50 a dozen. Wow. Yes, if you see them for $2.50, buy some extra. I paid $7 a dozen for white eggs a couple months ago at that same store, so they definitely either have a sale or they found a supplier. This person said, here in Auburn, California, I shop at a grocery outlet previously. We've had very few gaps, but the egg case was completely empty. Rite Aid next door had a couple of NyQuil medicine, but the price was ridiculous. Generics were gone. I've been seeing a few gaps here in Northern California, but now I'm finally experiencing shortages. Don't believe the mainstream media, even if you see no shortages. My brother recently moved to a small town in Kentucky. He woke up on December 26 to no running water in the house. Turned out the local water company shut off the water, stating they could not keep up with demand due to the storm. They had no notice of any kind. I spoke with him yesterday, and they told me they still had no water and may not have it back until the weekend. He's mad as hell, and I do not blame him. Him and his wife have been going out all week to buy water. Their saving grace is that they do not have any pets or children to worry about, and they're both in relatively good health. This just illustrates how fast things are breaking down. My brother said he could have handled this so much better if he had just been warned. Even with everything that is going on, it amazes me how water companies could shut off water for an entire town and not tell them. A lot of these shutoffs were caused by the freezing temperatures, broken pipes, and the lack to keep up with it because they were leaking. So they had to shut off a lot of things until they can fix the pipes. I do not know why Americans aren't 100% prepared. They need to stress it. Be 100% able to take care of your family. Not for a couple days, maybe a week, maybe a month. This is from rural Illinois. Walmart just raised the price on everything that had been discounted before Christmas, such as canned vegetables, boxed chicken broth, sweet potatoes. Eggs are $6 a dozen. $23 for a 5 dozen box. In April, that $5 or 5 dozen box was less than $7. So from $7 to $23, gas went up 30 cents overnight. We just went from a -6 temperature and a -47 wind chill 1 week ago to 60 degrees today. All the snow is gone in a day. It was nice to have a break, go for a walk, and eat lunch outside on my porch. I went to Meijer's store in Springfield, Illinois to return a gift that had come from Amazon. They have a UPS store there. I had printed the label at home from Amazon, had the original box. I thought it would be simple, just hand them the box and the label and get my receipt. But the rules had changed in the last year. They now charge about $4 if you don't have a box. But I'd been warned about that and had that. Then I was told that since my box was not taped shut already, they would charge me $2 for a 1-foot piece of tape to close it. The clerk whispered to me that if I had some way to get it taped, I could just come back and stand in line again. I told her that $2 for a piece of tape was crazy, and I walked away. A lady behind me said, you won't find any tape for sale that is $2. I told her I'd be paying more, but I'd be at least would have the rest of the tape left. I walked away trying to think what I could do next. A moment later, that same woman came up to me and said she had a roll of packing tape in her car, and she would go get it and tape my box for me if I just waited. She did exactly that. I was so grateful. Got my return done with no extra cost. She didn't need to do that, but it really helped me out, and it started my day out right. The rest of my shopping day, I looked around for others I could help. There are great people out there. You just have to be at the right place at the right time. People want to help other people. I went to my local Walmart and noticed the eggs were gone. Tonight I went to Food for Less, which is our local Kroger store, and noticed that there were no eggs. Either there's a major shortage here in California, and eggs are not where they need to be. On a brighter note, however, I was at our local Family Dollar store to buy a few things, and the lady in front of me had purchased some dog food and some other items using her EBT card, and she did not have enough money to buy food for a dog. So I asked the clerk how much she needed. She was only $1.93 short. I gave her $2, and she almost cried because she said she was getting close to being evicted, and she was looking for a place to stay. And I told her to go to apply at the local housing authority for a place to stay. People are helping people out there. If you can spare a few dollars to help someone out, it's not just the act of giving someone a couple bucks. It's the act of telling that person that you're important to me. We care about each other. So it's not the $2. It's that idea that someone actually would spend some money on me and be concerned about me. So it's not $2. It could change someone's attitude. I went to Jiffy Lube yesterday in Idaho Falls, Idaho, to get a rock chip repair. The price has been raised to $49. This is a huge increase from last winter when I paid $20. The rock chip was the same size as before. That is a 145% increase. Upstate New York here, prices are insane. My dog med went up $25. Food prices are insane. $3.50 for gas, $5 for diesel. Crime is rampant, and that was from upstate New York. I currently work for a natural and organic grocery store in the Chicago area and have not been told that there's a milk shortage, but lately we have trouble getting in milk products, milk and eggs, short in a lot of places. I have just experienced the craziest thing with American Airlines Credit Union. My debit card expires tomorrow, which would be 31 of December. I called yesterday to find out when my new card was sent, as I have not seen it in the mail yet. It should have been generated weeks ago. I was concerned about it being stolen from my mailbox. The agent told me that since I had my card was turned off in the app, the security feature, that the new card wouldn't generate. Weird, dumb, whatever. I don't use the account much, but since there are very few branches, mostly at major airports, it's a problem. I told them I'll call back after the first of the year. Then the following attached screenshot appeared in my bank account app. How in the world can this happen? How can American Airlines Union not generate a card for me to be able to access my money? This person sent me some photographs. Butter is getting very expensive. Insanity. Some of it's up to $11 a pound. Some of the cheaper stuff is running $4 to $6 a pound. This was sent to me. It said Biden to change the ruling allowing healthcare workers to refrain from like abortions or sex changes. So I guess now you can opt out of certain things, but it sounds like Biden is trying to change that. So if you're in a healthcare profession, you have to do whatever they tell you to do. This is from Wisconsin, and they're having a trouble with their mail carrier. They had a mail carrier, and then they got a sub, and now the sub is out. And there's no one to deliver mail, so they have to go get it at their closest town. More information about distilled water. Husband needed some distilled water for the batteries on a tugboat. Couldn't find any. Luckily, they have one of the home distillers, so they can make some of their own. So if you need it for your CPAP machine, make sure you have it. I was notified today that the Army, with their updated policy regarding the National Defense Authorization Act that was just signed, does not cover National Guard and Reserve for the exemption. So they were going to stop the mandatory vaccination of COVID, and you wouldn't get kicked out. But it looks like the National Defense Authorization Act was only now going to cover active duty troops. So National Guard and Reserves won't have this lifted. It'll probably be changed, hopefully, because that was the intent of lawmakers wanting it changed like that, but we'll just have to see. I have a personal interest in this, seeing my son is not. You know what? This person said, I bought a package of Kirkwood all-natural chicken thighs from Aldi's in southern Vermont this past week, and I had to trim excessive fat that was wrapped on the bottom of each piece. I love chicken fat and enjoy it's nice and crispy, so for me it says something. Why was there a lot more fat? I weighed the fat that I trimmed off, and came out to about 5 ounces of extra, almost 1 extra ounce per thigh. So are they trying to, get more money for their chicken because they're selling you a little bit fat? I don't know. We'll just have to see. This person says, I live in Tillamook County, which is Dairyland. Today, Kroger was nearly out of milk. Also, Dollar General out of milk because other people have been going over there trying to find milk. So, if you need milk, keep an eye on it. This person lives in Northwest Pennsylvania. I was in a local Save-A-Lot a couple days ago when I ran into an old school chum. He said he was retired now and driving the Amish for a side gig. He said one of his Amish guys told him by spring, eggs will be $12 a dozen. $12 a dozen. This is the second time I've heard this from 2 entirely unrelated sources. The price of a dozen eggs that day in a particular store was $5.45 for a dozen. We'll see if they get to 12. Maybe they're talking about the organic kind, but I don't know. I have chickens, so to me, it's not as big of a deal as for someone that's relying on them. I'm a retired Baton Rouge firefighter from Louisiana. Thank you for your service. I live on a fixed income now. Just a thought for your viewers. You don't have to wait till the grid goes down to use your solar generator. I've been using mine a little bit, and I've been saving money. He says I save about $30 to $50 a month because I'm using it. And I all for that. Just don't wear it out because you might need it in an emergency. So there you go, some boots on the ground from average people. This is New Year's night coming up. I hope you have a safe time. Thanks for watching.